Welcome back to the deep dive. So if you've been with us for the Silence of the Feed series, you'll know that we've really spent the last two deep dives just trying to get our arms around this problem.
Yeah, this crisis of what the source calls information entropy.
Right. We've diagnosed it. We've mapped out the trap, this, feeling of constant cognitive exhaustion.
That's absolutely right. We've sort of laid the groundwork. We've established that the information environment we're in, it's just not sustainable. It's aggressively extractive.
Extractive, that's the word. It demands our attention to just process noise.
Exactly. We know the illness, this rising noise floors, and we've talked a lot about the symptoms. The fatigue, the isolation, that feeling that you just can't think deeply anymore.
But today we're making a hard pivot. We're done with the diagnosis. Now we get to the engineering. This is the third and final part of the series, and our goal here is to lay out the blueprint for the escape. And it's all built around this one core solution from the source material, a framework called the protocol Droid defense.
And the premise here is, it's pretty radical, but it's also, I think, very simple. It's that we, as biological humans, have been forced into a technical job we are just not suited for.
Okay.
We need to stop being the primary unfiltered interface for all this chaos. The solution is to delegate that job, the filtering of all that raw, high-entropy data, to something else.
To our own digital protocol droids.
Precisely. And this isn't about logging off or, throwing your phone in a lake. It's about updating our entire operating system for how we engage with the digital world.
I think to really understand why this is so powerful, we have to start where the source does, which is it's a bit of a throwback. It's a memory of a piece of technology that was, by its very nature, a shield.
A physical shield.
Yes, a physical one. It had friction. We need to start with the sound of a 300 baud acoustic coupler modem from the early 80s.
Oh, that sound. It's this wonderfully chaotic, almost nostalgic noise. And think about the physicality of it. You're not just clicking an icon. You're holding a telephone handset, the big clunky plastic thing, and you are physically jamming it into these two rubber cups on a box. It wasn't sleek. It wasn't integrated. It was a bridge, a very deliberate manual bridge.
And once you made that physical connection, that's when you got the infamous handshake.
That screeching sound.
That high-pitched warbling, just static. It was the sound of two machines trying to figure out how to talk to each other. It's so ugly and raw compared to, the silent, invisible fiber connection we have today.
And that ugly sound is the entire point. That noise is the critical clue. That chaotic screeching, that was the original buffer in action.
The buffer.
The human user, sitting there, waiting for the text to appear on the screen. You were never expected to process the screech. The modem, that box with the rubber cups, it handled all of it. The modulation, the demodulation.
So it was the translator.
A perfect translator. It took the messy analog noise from the phone line and turned it into clean digital ones and zeros. It took the chaos.
Then it gave you clean text.
Exactly. The machine handled the noise, the negotiation, the chaos. You were shielded from it.
It was a firewall for our, what does the source call it? Our biological wetware?
Yes. It respected the boundary between the machine and the mind. It created this necessary layer of friction, of mediation.
And this is where the argument really starts to take shape. The source says that somewhere along the line, in our rush to make everything seamless and frictionless, that buffer just vanished.
It disappeared completely. We went from these clunky, separate devices to everything being totally integrated and invisible.
And in doing that, we basically took the screeching static of the entire world, all the noise from the algorithmic feed, and plugged it directly into our brains.
We are now completely exposed to the raw, unfiltered entropy of the system. That's what's causing the exhaustion. We lost the handshake. We lost that necessary friction.
And the loss of that boundary, that's what the source calls the central tragedy of the modern interface. We went from being operators of a tool to just inhabitants of an environment that needs us to constantly be filtering.
And if we're going to fix this, we have to start by really understanding the job we've been given, the immense cognitive cost of this job.
Let's get into that. The source has this really powerful framing for our current situation. The industrial isomorphism. It's a way of connecting our digital dilemma today back to the Industrial Revolution.
It's a fantastic parallel. It really highlights how we, as humans, are often forced to sort of fill the gaps for immature technology.
What do you mean by that?
Well, think about the Industrial Revolution. The early machines, the looms, the assembly lines, they were crude. They were loud. They weren't very smart. They required constant human help.
Right, someone had to pull a lever or feed the material in.
Exactly. And you had human beings with all their incredible capacity for creativity and problem solving being forced into these repetitive, soul-crushing motions. They were effectively turned into human robots.
Just another cog in the machine.
A cog in the machine. Their higher-level skills were totally wasted, all in the name of serving this crude early-stage technology.
So the isomorphism is that we've just swapped the factory floor for a digital one.
We've done exactly that. The source argues we're still serving the machine, just in a different role. In this social media age, we've become human routers in these massive information factories.
Human routers. I like that. So we're not pulling a physical lever. We're doing what? What's the digital equivalent?
The job of a network router is to perform packet switching. Data comes in these little packets, and the router looks at it, decides if it's important, where it needs to go, and then either forwards it or just drops it.
Keep or discard.
A constant high-energy loop of keep or discard.
Yeah.
And the human router, that's you, every single time you scroll your feed on LinkedIn or X or anywhere else, is doing that exact same job. Your brain is performing a high-energy packet switching over and over and over.
And that's where the burnout comes from. It's not just passive reading. It's an active, demanding triage job that we're doing constantly without even realizing it.
It's a total cognitive drain. And we should probably break down what those packets actually are to see what this costs us.
Yeah, let's walk through a typical scroll session. So packet 1 comes in.
Okay, packet 1. This is the good stuff. It's a genuinely useful piece of industry news, maybe a link to a complex paper in your field. It requires real thought.
Decision? Keep. That's the signal you were looking for. High value, low entropy.
But then, milliseconds later, packet 2 hits your feed.
And what's that?
This is a piece of perfectly optimized rage bait. A political meme, some outrage of the day, content specifically designed to trigger a maximum emotional response to guarantee engagement.
Okay, so the decision is discard, but it's not a clean discard, is it?
Not at all. It's a costly discard. Your brain still registers the emotional spike. Your nervous system reacts to the implied threat. You have to spend cognitive energy on emotional regulation, even as you're consciously trying to scroll past it.
So even ignoring it costs you something.
It costs a lot.
Yeah.
Then, right after that, packet 3. This is just a targeted ad. Software you don't need, a vacation you looked at 3 weeks ago.
Decision, discard. But again, you had to process it first. You had to recognize the brand, read the call to action, and then manually filter it as noise. More energy spent.
And finally, you get to packet 4, which is becoming the vast majority of the internet.
AI-generated slop.
AI slop, content that offers zero value, generated purely for SEO or engagement farming. It's designed to look just real enough to make you pause for half a second.
So your brain has to do another discard, but this time it also has to run a quick, authenticity test. Is this even real?
Right. A little heuristic analysis just to confirm that it's junk. And the key insight from the source here is the ratio, the sheer volume of discarding we have to do.
We're spending almost all of our energy just wading through garbage to find the 1 or 2 valuable packets.
And that leads directly to the core diagnosis of the problem.
Yeah.
This is an energetic disaster. We are fundamentally misusing our most powerful mental tools.
We're using our highest level of consciousness for the lowest level of work.
Exactly. We're using our level 3 cognitive capacity to do what is essentially level 1 data filtering.
Mm-hmm.
And the source is really clear that this isn't just inefficient, it's actively damaging.
Okay, let's define those terms, because that distinction feels really important. What is level 1 data filtering?
Level 1 is the basic stuff, the triage. Is this an ad? Is this spam? Is this a bot? Is this relevant to me right now? Should I scroll past it? It's the gatekeeper function. It requires attention, but it doesn't require deep thought or synthesis.
It's the bouncer at the door of your mind.
That's a great way to put it. And conversely, what is the resource we should be protecting? What is level 3 cognitive capacity?
That's the good stuff.
That's the penthouse suite of the brain. It's reserved for deep, nonlinear thinking, strategic planning, philosophical reflection, creativity, moral judgment. It's the uniquely human capacity for wisdom. It's our supercomputer.
And the analogy the source uses is just perfect. We're using a supercomputer to sweep the floor.
Yes. Our brain, this incredible instrument evolved for complex social and environmental challenges, is now being deployed primarily as a spam filter and an outrage detector.
And the cost is huge. All that decision fatigue. Every little keep or discard choice we make, it just draws down this finite well of energy.
It's our executive function. And by the end of the day, when you actually need that level 3 capacity to write a report, to have a meaningful conversation with your partner, to solve a hard problem, the tank is empty.
Because you spent it all being a human router.
You spent it all packet switching. The source is adamant that the exhaustion, the overwhelm, the isolation, these aren't bugs. They are features of a system that forces the human to be the firewall. We're drowning in the noise floor because we're the ones who have to manually sift through it all.
So if the problem is that we've lost the buffer, the modem, we need to figure out how to rebuild it. But first, we have to understand how big tech got rid of it so effectively.
And for that, the source gives us another brilliant framework. It's the matrix isomorphism.
The 1999 film, The Matrix. This is used to draw a line between two ways of being online versus being inline.
It's an incredibly useful way to visualize the boundary that we need to get back, because the film shows us two totally different ways to interface with the network.
Let's start with the default state, which is pretty chilling. The copper tops, the humans in the pods.
Yeah, it's a stark image. Humans are just suspended there, and there's a probe plugged directly into the back of their brainstem.
And the key thing about that connection is that it's seamless.
Totally seamless. There's no noise, no lag, no sense of separation at all. It's frictionless because the boundary between the person and the system has been completely erased.
And this is the critical distinction the source makes. That person isn't online. They are inline.
Being inline means you are a component. You are part of the circuit. You have no awareness that there's even a boundary to cross. The network isn't a tool you use. It's the reality you inhabit.
And your job in that circuit is to generate power for the machine. In our world, that power is our attention, our emotional responses.
We are powering the machine with our attention, and we are mostly oblivious to the fact that we're the battery.
That feels incredibly accurate. When you're just endlessly scrolling a feed, you're not consciously logging on to do something. You're just there. You're existing inside the system.
And you're providing the metrics it needs. The clicks, the outrage, the dwell time. The human router problem thrives in the inline state because there's never a moment of friction that makes you stop and ask, what am I doing right now?
Okay, so that's the scary part. Let's flip to the other side. The resistance. Neo, Trinity, Morpheus, they're the intentional operator.
They absolutely reject the seamless inline connection. They depend on what they call a hard line. It's a pirate signal, and it requires a physical old-school telephone connection to get in or out.
It's difficult. It's risky. It's not seamless at all.
It's full of friction, and it requires a dedicated operator tanker dozer to manage the whole thing. It's a very deliberate, high-stakes act.
And the film always makes a point to show us the marker of that transition. Whenever they plug in, you hear that sound again.
The screeching of the modem handshake, the baud tones.
And in this context, that sound isn't just noise. The source calls it the audible evidence of a threshold.
That's a brilliant phrase. It was a visceral reminder to the operator. It was saying, you are now entering a separate system. This is not your reality. This is a tool, and it's dangerous, so be careful. That screech defined the boundary.
It forced a moment of conscious awareness. It created the distinction between using a tool being online and being used by a system being inline.
And this is the central critique of our modern digital world. For the last, say, decade, big tech has been on a mission to systematically remove every single piece of that hard line.
They got rid of the formal logon sequence. They silenced the threshold. The transition from your physical life to the digital one is now instantaneous. It's invisible.
It's completely frictionless. And that allowed us to just drift. We drifted from being online, where we'd use the network for a specific task and then leave,
to being in line, where we just inhabit the simulation 247, scrolling endlessly, giving our cognitive power away without ever realizing we crossed a boundary in the first place.
The friction that protected us is gone. And that's why we're stuck doing the job of the human router. The only way out is to reintroduce that boundary. But this time, we do it with intelligence.
Which brings us to this solution. The diagnosis is done. We are exhausted human routers, trapped in line because we lost our modem. But the solution isn't to run away from the network, it's to evolve.
It's a technological evolution.
Right.
This is where we get into the protocol droid defense.
Right, and the source makes another great parallel here with the history of automation.
It's the same pattern. The steam shovel came along and freed the human ditch digger from brutal physical labor. The robotic arm freed the assembly line worker from repetitive motion.
And now the AI agent is arriving to free the human router from repetitive cognitive filtering.
We are right on the cusp of what the source calls the Agentic Web. And we need to talk about what that actually looks like in practice.
It means the act of scrolling, that main job of the human router, it just becomes obsolete.
It becomes a deprecated behavior,
What?
an old, inefficient way of doing things. All of that high-energy level 1 filtering that we do with our own minds gets outsourced. It gets automated.
We stop weeding the garden ourselves.
We hire a very smart, very efficient robot to do the weeding so we can focus on the harvest.
We dispatch a proxy, and the name the source gives this proxy is just perfect. 3PO, our personal AI agent.
3PO. It's our new interface. It's autonomous. Instead of sticking our own fragile biological consciousness into this chaotic river of data, we send a specialized, non-biological proxy to do it for us.
So the protocol droid is the new modem. It's the new buffer. It handles the chaos so we don't have to.
Exactly. And this means we have to interact with the web in a totally new way. We shift from being passive consumers to being active delegators.
The source has a script for this, for how this interaction would work. Let's walk through it because it really clarifies the new roles.
Okay, so the interaction starts with you, the human, stating your high-level intent. You're not browsing, you're not scrolling. You're focused entirely on level 3 concerns: value, strategy.
So I say, 3PO, check the networks. I'm looking for discussions on systems theory and new papers on isomorphism. This is specific, this is intentional.
You're not asking for content. You're asking for knowledge that is directly relevant to your deepest intellectual goals.
And then comes the most important part, the filtering instruction, the defense mechanism.
This is where you program the droid's values. You say, ignore the influencers, ignore the ads, summarize the 3 most relevant conversations for me.
So I'm defining relevance. I'm prioritizing depth over popularity. I'm actively telling it to exclude the noise. This is me training my protocol droid.
And what happens next is what's so fascinating. 3PO is dispatched. It goes into what the source calls the dark forest, the wild, chaotic, noisy internet as it actually exists.
And its mission is pure triage.
It's built for the chaos. It wades through all the algorithmic sludge. It does the machine-to-machine handshakes with the same engagement algorithms that used to target you. It identifies the bots, the AI slop, the propaganda, the ads. It does all the level 1 filtering we used to do.
But, and this is the key, it does it without the human cost. It doesn't have emotions.
Precisely. Rage bait doesn't make it angry. It just sees it as a data pattern to be discarded. Yeah. It feels no FOMO. It has no emotional vulnerabilities to exploit. It's a pure logic engine in a sea of chaos.
It's the perfect replacement for the human router.
It's tireless. It's incorruptible. And then it comes back.
And the output, the signal it returns to the human, is completely different.
It returns with a clean, pristine, low-entropy signal. It might say something like, "Sir, Professor Johnson published a rebuttal to your framework on isomorphism this morning. There is a detailed discussion in a specialist subchannel. Here are the 3 key arguments."
So I get only the actionable, high-value information. I am completely shielded from the entire digital noise war that my agent just fought on my behalf.
You have successfully reinstalled the modem. But this time, it's an intelligent one.
I have to stop you there, though, because there's a question I think everyone listening is probably asking right now. If we give this agent so much power, the power to define what's relevant, the power to ignore things, aren't we just building the perfect echo chamber?
That is the million-dollar question, and it's the most important trade-off. The source addresses this by saying, we need to focus on robust agent governance.
Governance? Meaning what?
Meaning, you don't just train 3PO on what you like. You have to train it on what you value. And that's a very subtle but incredibly important difference.
Okay, give me an example.
If you value intellectual rigor, your agent's job is to find the most rigorous, well-argued counterpoints to your own beliefs. Because the value is the rigor, not the agreement. You would train it to prioritize high-quality dissent over low-quality comforting agreement.
So my job shifts. I'm no longer doing level 1 filtering by scrolling. My new job is level 3 governance, training my agent's ethics and values.
You've nailed it.
Yeah.
You stop being the processor and you become the programmer. You define the rules of intellectual engagement at the highest level, and the droid enforces them, no matter how much noise the network throws at it.
This changes everything. It even changes how we think about some of the big, scary ideas we've talked about before in this series, like the concept of the dead internet.
Yeah, that idea used to be this dystopian nightmare, right? A future where the internet is just bots talking to other bots, and all the humans have been drowned out.
But with the protocol droid defense, the source argues we should flip that idea on its head.
Completely. If you accept that the internet is already a high-noise environment, that it's already flooded with AI-generated content, then trying to navigate it yourself, as a human, is just It's a losing battle.
So the only logical strategy is to fight fire with fire. You send your own AI filter to navigate their AI generators.
The dead internet becomes our salvation, not our doom. We accept the battlefield for what it is, a war of algorithms, and we decide that we, as fragile, emotional humans, have no business being on the front line.
We pull back.
We pull back and we let the machines handle the noise. We initiate a strategic digital noise war that happens entirely in the background, out of our sight.
Let the bots talk to the bots.
Let the bots talk to the bots. Imagine it. At machine speed, marketing AIs are screaming at shopping AIs. Propaganda bots are arguing with filtering bots like 3PO.
The old engagement algorithms are trying to hook our summary algorithms.
And it's just this constant high-speed screeching of the new modem.
Yeah.
But it's a closed loop. It's invisible to us. And because our protocol droid is a logic engine, it can't be baited. It can't be outraged. The noise just bounces off.
While all that is happening in the dark forest, we get to step back into what the source calls the countryside.
A place of calm. A place for the exchange of high-level, low-entropy information. We only receive what actually matters, filtered by an intelligence that shares our values, but none of our weaknesses.
This really brings the whole isomorphism idea to its final conclusion, the 3 phases of our relationship with technology.
Let's lay them out. Phase 1, the industrial age. The machines were crude, so humans had to act like crude machines. We became human robots.
Phase 2, the information age. The algorithms were crude, so humans had to act like crude algorithms. We became human routers. That's the crisis we're in now.
And now, phase 3, the agentic age. The machines are finally mature. The AI is sophisticated enough to handle not just the production of data, but also the filtering and distribution of that data. The loop is closed.
And the human is finally freed. We're freed from the factory floor, and we're freed from the feed. We can go back to doing what we're actually good at.
We go back to level 3 complexity, purely, the things that can't be automated. Creative synthesis, building relationships, empathy, strategic direction, defining our values. We're freed from maintenance, and we're returned to mastery.
So what does that world actually look like? If we get this right, what's the optimistic picture of this? Distilled internet.
It's a world where you never scroll. That physical motion, that thumb flick that drains so much energy, it just goes away. You never see an ad. You never see a troll. You never see suggested for you content designed to hook you.
Instead,
you get a daily briefing or a weekly one. Actionable insights, challenging ideas from thinkers you respect, all curated and summarized by an agent that knows your intellectual project inside and out.
so it's not the dead internet, this silent, empty place we feared.
Not at all. It's the distilled internet. It's pure signal. The noise has been separated out by an intelligent layer that doesn't depend on our finite energy or our easily tricked emotions. We've reinstalled the buffer, and this time, the buffer thinks.
Which brings us right back to the beginning, back to the name for this whole framework, the protocol droid, C-3PO.
The analogy just lands perfectly, doesn't it? 3PO's whole purpose in Star Wars is to be a translator. He's fluent in 6 million forms of communication. His job is human-cyborg relations.
He's the bridge. He speaks the chaotic, binary language of the machines.
The moisture evaporators, the binary load lifters, the algorithm handshakes.
So that Luke Skywalker doesn't have to.
Exactly. Luke gets to be the level 3 strategist. He can focus on the horizon, on his destiny, the Force, the bigger picture. He trusts the protocol droid to handle all the low-level technical communication and filtering.
Luke is not sitting there scrolling through data feeds from the moisture evaporators. He gets a summary and executes his strategy.
And the final insight from the source just hits so hard here. For the last 15 years, we have all been trying to talk to the moisture evaporators ourselves.
We've been trying to speak binary with our hearts, with our biological wetware, and it's just about broken us.
The system demands that our consciousness directly confront the raw data, the raw outrage, the raw commerce of the digital world. And we simply are not built for that kind of constant high-entropy pressure.
So the final takeaway here feels incredibly empowering. This isn't about retreat. It's not about going off grid.
No, not at all. It's about installing a much, much smarter modem. We are building an autonomous, intelligent buffer between our minds and the chaos of the feed. The job now is to build that interface and to train our agents.
And if we can do that, if we can successfully implement the protocol droid defense, finally the screeching will stop.
It will. And in that quiet, we'll find immense power. But it also raises one last really important question, a new vigilance we'll need.
Okay.
So if your protocol droid becomes perfect, if it's so perfectly optimized to your level 3 values, that it filters out all the low-quality noise, all the rage bait, all the poorly argued counterpoints. If it creates this perfectly distilled reality just for you.
What's the risk?
The risk is that you may still, inadvertently, be living in a perfect curated simulation. If the filter is so flawless that you only ever encounter things that challenge you in exactly the way you've pre-approved, where is the boundary anymore?
We could drift back into that seamless state.
We could trade the chaotic prison of the human router for the comfortable prison of the agentic age. We have to make sure we don't drift back to being inline again, this time in a simulation designed by our own biases. What is the new boundary we'll have to guard?
It seems like the work of protecting our level 3 capacity. It's never really over.
It just changes form.
That is a fascinating thought to end on. The next battle isn't against the noise, it's against our own comfort. And that's it for this deep dive and for the Silence of the Feed series. Until next time, keep optimizing your interface.